and the energy to consistently give the people what they want.
Well, we still don't know where James Harden is, and we have Kyrie hurting LeBron's feelings, but we start with the formerly undefeated Steelers, who I doubted, and the Washington football team gave me reason to last night. The Steelers are no longer undefeated. What did you think of the performance in Pennsylvania?
The first thing that stood out to me, it was too much of the Hall of Famer, Big Ben. And here's what I mean. Too many pass attempts, over 50, and they only scored 17 points, which wasn't aided by the number of drops that they had. And also, the Steelers had a couple of opportunities to make big plays. Big Ben didn't hit the running back out of the backfield, and then he threw an interception late. And so usually they have built their team to where it's defense first, physicality, and then the offense can kind of do what it does. And so you got to give Washington's defense all of the credit, but man, so many miscues by the Steelers.
There really were. That 4th and 1 to Anthony McFarland was on that wheel route was very curious decision by Ben with all the other weapons that they had on the field. And you also mentioned the injuries.
He was open. He should have threw it towards the end zone.
What's really happening with this team is the injuries. Dupree is out, and Bush has been out, and then Bush's replacement, Spillane, went out last night, and Hayden went out, and we don't know how long Spillane and Hayden will be out, but you can only sustain so many injuries in one unit and still be effective. And you mentioned they scored 17 points. They had 21 yards rushing, Jalen. Most teams have a 21-yard rush every game. They had 21 yards rushing. They scored 14 points in the first half very quickly. They only added 3 as it went on. It was a pretty poor performance from them, but I do want to celebrate the football team that is the Washington football team and Alex Smith, who has a reputation as kind of being a game manager. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Guess how many interceptions he had? 0. Guess how many turnovers he had? 0. And Cam Sims had himself a night. This one-handed catch right here sealed the deal on the evening. That was a backbreaker for the Steelers. And it was at that moment when Cam brought down that one-handed catch, you could tell that they weren't going to go to 12-0. They were going to go to 11-1, which sort of changes things in the AFC. Look at the current playoff picture in the AFC, and you can sort of see things starting to stack themselves up in a more natural place. The Chiefs and the Steelers have the same record, but I don't think anyone would ever pick the Steelers over the Chiefs in a game. The Bills won last night, and then you've got the rest of this. How do you see this shaking out? Can the Ravens get in? Can the Raiders get in? Are the Colts going to drop? Are the Dolphins going to stay there?
Classic parody of the NFL where the league gets turned upside down, where teams like the Bills, who haven't won a playoff game since the early 90s, the Titans, who outplayed expectations last year, the Browns, who have a chance to win double-digit games, and even the Dolphins. All of those teams all of a sudden outplay expectations, and that's what they do a great job in NFL of scheduling, but also teams turning over their roster. But the Kansas City Chiefs are head and shoulders the best team in football. Let's not get it twisted. Yep. I know we want to take them for granted, but they're the best team in football.
It is the Chiefs and everybody else, and one of those teams that wants to challenge the Chiefs for that AFC crown in the playoffs. Had a great performance last night. And of course, I'm talking about the Buffalo Bills, who went into, I want to say San Francisco, but actually Arizona to play the 49ers. What did you see from Josh Allen and the Bills that was encouraging last night?
You know how Griselda and Boldy James and our guy Benny the Butcher get down 90 East to 94. I'm rooting for the Buffalo Bills, dog. There's only a couple of teams across the NFL who haven't seen their squad win a playoff game since the early 90s. The Bengals, the Lions, and the Buffalo Bills. So it's great to see that they have a franchise quarterback. They really turned their team around when they made their coaching change and established an identity. He helped develop Josh Allen. It's been terrific, kind of like we saw with McVay or Shanahan out west.
And sometimes you get the good Josh Allen, sometimes you get the bad Josh Allen. Last night, we got kind of the perfect Josh Allen. He was running the ball, he was hitting everybody on the field, and he picked a certain target early that he just kept going back to, and that is the little guy, Cole Beasley. Beasley had himself a night.
Man.
And look, just rock the baby. Rock the baby. Cole Beasley, you just can't contain him. He knows exactly where to get in all the holes in the zones. He had 9 receptions, 130 yards. And it was just a really great performance from Josh Allen and the Bills. And as you mentioned, Sean McDermott has them clicking on both sides of the ball. What do you need?
How much pride did you take, tell the truth, seeing one of your guys that should be up on your wall, Cole Beasley, catch for 130 yards and get rocked like a baby? How did you feel to see the guy for the Patriots run that punt return with his hair hanging out of his helmet?
Gunner?
Tell me, how did you really feel when those plays happened?
Jalen, those are independent events. I see no through line. I see absolutely no common thread between the performances of those two players outside of their long hair. I don't even know what you are talking about. And I'd also like to bring up that.
You know what? You know what would be dope? You need to do one of those Meg Thee Stallion body yaddy 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 videos. You should try that.
Okay, Jalen, we spent so much time preparing this program, and we've got a rundown, and we've got a whole production staff and crew, and then all of a sudden you say, hey, Jacoby, I want you to do a body yaddy yaddy video. Like, what are you even talking about? Do you have any idea that we're on television right now? Sometimes I don't even think you know that this camera is recording you at the moment. We got to move on to something that we actually prepared to discuss in the world of sports, and that is the disappearance of James Harden. Coach Silas is in front of the media yesterday being like, I don't know where he is. I don't know when he's going to be back. I don't have the reasons. You need to talk to him about that. What do you think about the way that James has moved this early in the season, not reported to practices?
So it's two sides to this coin, Jacoby. When you've become a superstar in the NBA, a legitimate MVP candidate, a scoring champion, a franchise player, you have earned the right to dictate your moves. And whether that means you want to hang out and get it in with Lil Baby or the pictures that we show right now, and or let the team know that you want to be moved. However, when you handle it like this, what ends up happening is for the player, you start to ruin some of the equity you built with the public and the media. Like James Harden was one of the most blue-collar players showing up in Houston, wasn't necessarily load managing. And I knew when I had the remote control in my hand watching League Pass, whether they had Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, he was going to have them be one of the top teams in the West. He's one of the best players in the game. So the Rockets, if and when they move him, is going to be losing one of the pillar players of the league. With that being said, you don't help them move you by this behavior. Any insubordinance only just cuts into your value, and more importantly, where I want to stress, cuts into your pockets. You know how much money he getting paid over these next couple of years, Jacoby? I need to be pocketing every dollar, every cent, every nickel, every penny of the salary that they're going to be giving him over the next couple of years. Look at those numbers. Don't give it back to the team. Don't give it back to the league. Give it to Lil Baby. Give it to your family. Donate it in strip clubs, but do not give it back to the league. That's what I don't want to see happen.
See, I do feel like he is hustling backwards a bit. Well, I understand that he's enjoying himself at parties and in Los Angeles, in Atlanta with Lil Baby and all that, but you want to get traded, okay? So you want your trade value to be as high as possible. In order for the Rockets to get the biggest return they can possibly from you, you can't publicly ask to be traded. You can't behave in this way because then other teams at the negotiation table know that you sort of need to move him. If you truly want to leave, this is the wrong way to go about it. And I think the Rockets want to trade him. Because if you think about this, the Rockets, they brought in a new coach, they brought in a new GM, they brought in, actual centers in Christian Wood and Boogie Cousins. They traded Westbrook for John Wall. Like, they're not trying to renovate the house. They're trying to tear down the entire house and build up a new one. I think they're trying to move Harden, but Harden moving like this keeps them from getting the biggest return. I think he should show up to practice. He should have a heart-to-heart with the ownership in the front office, and they could come together and say, listen, if you want to move James, here's what you should do. Start the season with us, perform really well, do what you're told, and then your value will go up, and then we can move you. That's how I think that they should be moving, especially since he wants a package from the Nets. But people talk about Harden in Houston a lot. But Jalen, people don't talk about the impact that all of this can have on that team in Brooklyn that looks a lot different this year than last year. What do you think the impact is for the Nets?
Spent my entire life in locker rooms and playing sports, depending on whatever season it is. As a guy that's on TV right now wearing a baseball cap, carrying a bat with a football helmet over his head and a Jada Kiss bust. A couple of years ago, we saw this with the Los Angeles Lakers. when they acquired LeBron James, you knew at some point it had to be championship or bust. So they had a bunch of young players on their team trying to figure out if they were going to be a part of the future. And that season didn't necessarily go well overall. Then they moved Ingram. Then they ended up doing the bigger deal that brought back Anthony Davis. And so Ball and all of those guys couldn't really find their footing in Los Angeles. Josh Hart, they were still trying to figure it out on the roster. That's what the Nets are putting themselves in position to have happen right now. Karis LeVert was one of the surprises in the bubble for those that didn't know he could really ball. Spencer Dinwiddie has a dope goatee, and he's really productive in this league. Jared Allen has shown that he can be a shot blocker and a finisher around the hoop. I'm not trading those guys for James Harden, but last year, what were we saying? These guys are auditioning to see who's going to fit with Kyrie, who's going to fit with KD. When they go to training camp with a first-time coach, my former teammate Steve Nash, also Mike D'Antoni, who just joined his staff, those same scenarios are going to be taking place in the Nets locker room. Who fits with KD, Kyrie? Who's going to leave if they trade for James? And it's not going to truly allow them to maximize the potential that they have as a team.
And you mentioned the sort of turmoil that happened on that Lakers team a couple of years ago, and it's got to be somewhat similar in Brooklyn. You know, they just did media day where they take all the pictures and you do all this stuff for the big screen. There's a part of like Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie when they took those pictures. They're like, y'all not even gonna use these, right? Like y'all not gonna trade me. You're not gonna use these. Like, why would I just skip this? Like, why am I even going through all of this? And you start to build a relationship with KD and you run through the plays, and in the back of your head you have to be thinking, am I gonna be running these plays? Like, am I gonna be even playing with these people? It's really interesting to see not just the impact on the Rockets and what that is, but how this affects the Nets as well. Something tells me this will not be the last time we talk about James Harden relationships with the Rockets, so we will move on. But Jalen, Kyrie Irving had something to say that hurt LeBron James' feelings, and he opened up about it. We'll play you that sound right after this. You're watching Jalen Jacoby. Stay tuned. Jalen, the pandemic has forced us all to work out in different ways. I've been going on long jogs, doing some calisthenics, and at my age, you need to recover. Now, whether you're my age or whether you're a young man or whether you're older or whether you're an elite athlete or just a regular person like myself or an ex-elite athlete like Jalen who's turned into a regular person, I've found the key to recovery, and that is using the Theragun. Using the Theragun is the perfect way to treat your muscle pain and muscle tension. It is the perfect way to recover. It is a handheld massage device that has different speeds, depths, and powers that really makes you feel better when you use it after working out. And guess what? There's an even bigger deal with the Theragun. Try Theragun for 30 days. There's no substitute for the Theragun Gen 4 with an OLED screen, personalized Theragun app, and the quiet and power you need. Go to Theragun.com/Jalen right now to get your Gen 4 Theragun today. That's Theragun.com/Jalen. Theragun.com/Jalen. Don't you think those once in a blue moon moments should happen more than once in a blue moon? Spending some special time with your significant other, playing with your kids, happy hour, just relaxing night in. We should make those once in a blue moon moments happen more than once in a blue moon. And you can always do it with Blue Moon beer. Blue Moon is on a mission to celebrate and inspire more of those moments. And just like you are looking for the special in every day, Blue Moon takes a twist on the everyday Belgian wheat beer. I love a Blue Moon. I love the citrus notes. I love when you go to a bar. Remember bars? Remember you go to a bar and you get a Blue Moon draft and they've got a little slice of orange they put in there and I'll drink it down to the bottom and then I'll eat the orange. I love Blue Moon so much. And it's got that one-of-a-kind appearance, that bright taste. It's a well-crafted beer with that twist of citrus flavor. And, fun fact, you know why it's called Blue Moon? Someone was tasting the beer and they said, a beer this good only comes around once in a blue moon. Well, guess what? Let's take that once in a blue moon and make it more often. And here's what you can do. In 2020, during the pandemic, you can have Blue Moon delivered by going to get.bluemoonbeer.com. And you can find delivery options near you. Add a special touch to your holiday season with the brightness of Blue Moon, brewed with Valencia orange peel for unique, vibrant taste. Reach for the moon. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing, Golden, Colorado. Coming to you live from Pier 17 in the South Street Seaport and brought to you by Chase. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, it is time for the segment where you decide what we discuss. It's Keep It Moving. If you would like to discuss the topic, say hit the brakes. If not, me, you, and Method Man keep it moving. And we start with some comments from Kyrie that hurt the feelings of LeBron James. Keep it moving or hit the brakes. He was on the Road Trippin' podcast, and LeBron said that Kyrie saying that now he's with KD, he's playing with someone else that can hit those clutch shots, said it bothered him and hurt a little bit. What do you think about this from LeBron and Kyrie?
The last Titan, I felt bad when I saw them use the term hurt was in Teenage Love. I felt Slick Rick when he was like, don't hurt me again. I felt that. That album was so classic. And for LeBron, I actually feel this, Jacoby, because as he mentioned, you have a dual responsibility when you're a great player like LeBron James. Of course, he's going to score his points and get his numbers and put himself in position to be one of the all-time greats by winning championships. But he prides himself on being a big brother and an ambassador of the league, and not only helping so many people get paid, get rings, learn the business, outside of basketball, but also maximize their games. And that did happen with Kyrie Irving. Yeah, he was an all-star and an all-star game MVP and an Olympian before LeBron James came. But once LeBron got there, he became all-NBA. He became a player that could make a big shot at Golden State to win a championship. And so I understand why LeBron will be hurt by these comments, but it also just showed how and why Kyrie ultimately left Cleveland. He was unhappy in Boston, left them, and set their development back some to team up with KD, even though he signed first. KD was with the Warriors, won back-to-back finals MVPs, got injured. He was unhappy there, and he left. So it's going to be interesting to see the Nets have two people who are where they want to be. They should have a big stage in Brooklyn to put on the show, and I'm pretty sure KD can't wait to return, especially after injury, to show you one of the best players in the game.
Well, I think that Kyrie was really thinking about that Game 7 shot you mentioned over Steph Curry to win them the championship against the Warriors, but that wasn't the only clutch shot that either of these players have taken. And when you look at the actual numbers, not just the volume, but the percentage. There are receipts. And when you look at the receipts, it's pretty clear that LeBron James has hit more clutch shots, including the playoffs, than Kyrie, and he does it at a better percentage. So LeBron James can always point to those numbers if he does feel hurt. Moving on, Carmelo Anthony has a new look and an old team. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
OG status. The more you're around, the more you to continue to reinvent yourself. He'll be coming off the bench this year with the old school braids. Keep it moving.
Keep moving.
We keep it moving. We keep it moving.
We have some footage of a very exciting young prospect.
Hit the brakes. Hit the brakes.
Bull is in practice, and just watching him play the game, looking like his dad, but looking like he's got guard skills is so interesting. What do you think about the potential for Bull to make an impact in this season?
Did I tell you when we went to play youth games in Connecticut and those cats from Bridgeport chased us out of the mall? Did I tell you that? And I remember going to Manute Bowles High School and saw his long jersey. So it's great to see his son in the league. And the other thing is, it's always amazing to see a tall man do things as well as a shorter guy. That's what we love about Boy. He's giving us the dunks and the block shots, Jacoby, but he's giving us the handles. He's giving us the threes. That was a mid-range pull-up on the right side. That guy's supremely talented.
I just love the way the Nuggets have drafted. They're like, we got a good core, so we're going to take some gambles. Like Michael Porter Jr., is he hurt? Is he a superstar? I don't know. Like Bull, like where does he fit in the NBA? I don't know, but we'll take him. RJ, we'll take him. Oh, wait, he slid to us late lottery or in the mid-picks, mid-first round. We'll take him. I love the way that they've been drafting. Moving on, the NBA has an official release about their resting policy. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
We know what that is. Please play in the national games. The season has been shortened. Of course, we know that team players going to cherry pick games. Keep it moving.
We keep it moving. We keep it moving.
Doug Peterson will not commit to Wentz or Hurts.
Hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes on this. He said that he would like to keep the starting quarterback private, and that's between me and me. What do you think he should do at the quarterback position in Philly?
I know a lot of people feel like he should start Jalen Hurts, but I think he should start Carson Wentz. I'm trying to let Carson Wentz get me through this season. And even though the Giants and Washington did a really good job of trying to take hold of the NFC East, I think you try to let them play it out and you give Jalen some packages. And then this offseason, you got to reevaluate it because you owe Carson so much money. He's going to be on their team next year. So you don't want to alienate him. And then on the other side, you don't want him to get hurt. Like I tell you, I can't front. It seemed like Doug Peterson acting like somebody that know he could get another gig. So that's what I'm kind of watching for at the end of this season. If he bolts from Philly and go resurrect himself somewhere else.
UNLV quarterback is in hot water for appearing on one of my favorite shows. Keep moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
Well, I love the show Below Deck, always have, and he appeared as a guest, and one of the requests that him and his group had was that they eat sushi off a naked model. Jalen, he had to apologize. What do you think about this young man's decision to appear in a reality show eating sushi off a naked model?
First off, that's the life and times that we're in. Young people look at their phones more than they look at television. So I'm not surprised that he would try to be appearing and doing something that had to do with producing content. But what I'm disappointed in this show is I wanted to hit the brakes to see the video. What are pictures?
Oh, Jalen.
What are images?
Jalen, it is an attitude like that. It's an attitude like that that doesn't just get Max in trouble, but gets us in trouble as well. I also want to say, Max, you can't be 0-5. Jalen, stop being thirsty. It is time for News That Matters. Jalen, hair is very important to you. Something you care the most about in life is your hairline and your grooming. I know you're working on something new right now to unveil.
I'm wolfing until Christmas.
Well,
all natural flow.
Perhaps you should grow this out. Let's take a look at a hairstyle called Draves that I think you should look into.
Best hairstyle on TikTok, right here. Dreads and waves. I think I'm gonna call them Draves. You feel me? Dreads and waves combo. Who else can do it? Somebody tag me.
Jalen, are you going to be growing Draves? Is that why you haven't had a haircut in like a month and a half, because you're growing Draves?
Hey, dog, he crushing them, because usually the person that has nice braids like that don't have a whipped hairline and the waves laying down. He crushing them, dog. He's a dual threat out there. He like KD doing what Steph can do. You know what I'm saying? At 6'11", he killing them. Shout out to all the barbers, the
it's more like Bo
workers,
Jackson. Like he's a two-sport athlete.
Hold y'all down.
He's a two-sport athlete. Like he's just he's really more like Bo Jackson than KD. Like he's got the waves and the dreads, best of both worlds, like R. Kelly and Jay-Z. When we come back, Jalen's going to take us behind the curtain, some race relations in the NBA. Not what you think it is. Stay tuned.
Got to give the people time.
Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, we often look for you to take us behind the curtain, and we need you to do so on this sound from Tyler Hero appearing on Tommy and JJ's podcast, Old Man in the Three.
But in the fourth quarter of games, did you feel like because you're white with short arms, teams would target you defensively?
Yeah. I mean, me and Duncan know at this point, like going into the game, they're coming at us no matter what.
Jalen admitted you would target the white guys when you were playing on an NBA basketball court.
Well, it's great to see those guys enjoy it. They play a sport that's predominantly black. And if you're Tyler Hero, you play with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, so they got to go at somebody. And if you're JJ Redick, you've proven to be a long-time veteran at what you do. It's great to see those guys break through and have the productivity they had. Maybe they'll make it to your Wall of Fame one day.
We'll be back tomorrow, ESPN at 2 p.m. It's Jalen and Jacoby.
This is your last chance to give a great holiday gift, but time is ticking. Luckily for you, Dell has amazing savings on XPS and Alienware computers with Intel Core processors. There are also deals on an incredible selection of the best electronics brands like Samsung, all with free shipping on everything. If you get moving today, you can get great gifts under the tree in time. Just call 800-BY-DELL. That's 800-BY-DELL.
We always say we give the people what they want. Part of that is a podcast, exclusive content. And Jalen, last week I had the honor of playing golf with the Last Dance director, Jason Ayer. Had a great time.
Wow.
Great round. He's just a great dude to hang out with. Big shout to him in the Last Dance after show that we did during the run of that. And it was so impactful, but there were some things that sort of drudged up some old, messy feelings that project did. Some of those are from Scottie Pippen. And he said that the Last Dance was about Michael Jordan, quote, trying to uplift himself and be glorified. What do you think about Scottie's comments? Come on, Reg.
I talked about this. No, that was the right sound effect. Do that again, Reg. I think that
Rude.
you're so very competitive and you want all of the awards and the achievements to come with, your fruits of labor and to win championships and to be regarded as one of the best, if not the greatest of all time. And then there are certain people that you see that have that, but not necessarily the respect that I believe that they deserve from the public. Even when I was in the league, I always felt like it was a disrespect the way people treated Scottie Pippen like a quote-unquote Robin.
Preach.
That is something that followed him while he was a player. And then, yes, when you're a player, you have your moments of, bad play or misjudgment. And he did have his times as a Piston fan where I cheered when he had a migraine and wasn't able to play. And I felt like we were too physical for him and he didn't want the contact. But he matured from that as a player from Central Arkansas that really started to improve, and then playing against the bad boys. And once he started to develop is when they took off. And so if you look back at the Bulls highlights, just think about this. This is crazy. Have you ever seen Scottie take or make a game-winning shot with the Bulls when Michael Jordan was on the team?
No.
Just think about that for a second. I've made game-winning shots, dog. I've taken game-winning shots. When the last time you were watching a Bulls game with MJ on the team and you saw the ball make it to Paxson or make it to Kerr or BJ Armstrong when he was there or Craig Hodges when he was there? We've seen other players get a chance to have their moments. Dennis Rodman grabbing every rebound. We've never truly seen him have his moment to get his flowers playing in MJ's shadow. So MJ leaves and the team becomes his. They lose to the Knicks on a bad call by Hugh Hollins late on a three-point shot by Hubert Davis. I'm not sure if that was in the Last Dance. But then the play where he didn't return to the game after Phil Jackson drew up the play for Tony Kukoc. It's one thing to be the all-NBA player and the champion of 3 times at that time and not go in the game. And it was the same coach, so I know he felt some type of way. Just think about it. His coach that was there with him for MJ and saw all of the struggles I just talked about, saw all of that. But he knew that Tony Kukoc had a better chance to make this jumper. And it's one thing not to go in the playoff game. It's another thing for him to make the shot, dog. Like, what did dog, when he makes the shot, dog, that just like, it ruins a lot of the credibility that he had as a great player. For people who were casual fans, ready to bash him. And then MJ returns. These dudes got 2 3-peats, but he never got his bread, which he never got his respect, and he had to leave to get his bread. And yeah, he went to a couple of situations, Houston and Portland. They were a really good team. You see Kobe with the crossover lob to Shaq. He was on the wrong end of that. And then all of a sudden, dog, you retire with these 6 rings. And somebody that shares your last name they're not necessarily always represented well in the public eye.
Been a tough summer for all of us. It's been a tough summer for Scottie Pippen. I feel so bad for this dude because he used to be around the office and stuff. He's so nice. He's just a tall, nice, calm dude. Like, he's just as mature and intelligent and articulate and friendly and kind. But like, he's now his last name is in the news for all the wrong reasons. He's just such a good dude. And it's like, and you know what, you brought up something, you breezed over it, which I think is really like a really deep down and motivating factor for all this. He never got his bread. He got the rings, but like, if you look at the career earnings and some of the people that he played with, the people around him, and you look at his, if you lop off, like you said, that last part, he just didn't make enough money with the Bulls for the success that he brought them. And while he might have never made a game-winning shot, he had some really impactful games. Like you don't always make the game-winning shot at the buzzer. You know what I mean? You can make the game-winning shot in the second quarter. Like, he's one of the best of all time.
It's one of the best of all time. Correct, but sports is about storylines and moments. And when you think back to all of the great Chicago Bull MJ moments, they're him or Paxson or Kerr. It's Scottie during the game playing well, getting a steal, dunking on Ewing and pushing him in the face. It's like those exist clearly because he is top 50. Like, one of the great point forwards, let me teach everybody the difference. The point forward was a guy that was not in the backcourt. That was Paul Pressey. That was Scottie Pippen. Grant Hill was a classic point forward when he came into the league. And so he like, as a lockdown defender, like he's that deal. But again, you just said it. He had all of the awards. But you know what make us happy? The rewards. The reward.
It's just so hard.
Pay me.
I just want to say something. I want to say something to everybody listening to this. It has nothing to do with being an NBA basketball player. It's just being a professional, whether you work anywhere, minimum salary or billionaire. It's very difficult to be in a work environment and not compare yourself to what you consider your peers. It took me like 15 years of being in this business until you get mature enough and zen enough to understand that you can control what you can control and really just focus on your own self and your own happiness. So you don't draw that from being above, behind, or next to others. It is just any work environment. It just poisons your brain if you're constantly saying, well, this person gets in that meeting and this person has that title and this person has that and I deserve this. It's just like, it's got to be hard. I can imagine when you're Scottie Pippen, winning all the championships, contributing as much as he contributes, and watching everybody else make the money, and you signed a long deal that's underpaid you, and the team will not renegotiate it. That's got to bother you every single waking minute of every day.
Let me give everybody a history lesson. I played with Scottie Pippen on the Bulls. I played with Scottie Pippen on the Bulls. And I've been telling you this story for over 10 years. When we were in the steam room after practice. I told you the story 10 years ago. This is not breaking news or nothing. It's not like I'm breaking a code. Like I said this, I've been telling this story for years.
But Jay, one thing why I want you to tell this story again is because me and you are the only people that's heard every podcast. Me and you are the only people that have listened to every single second of every single J&J. So whoever's listening now is thinking like, I know you've told it before, Jay, but I haven't heard it, so tell it again, Jalen.
All right, so we had a couple of like media days and practices. Eddie Curry and Tyson Chandler, that was the year they got drafted. They were going into their second year. I came halfway through their first year, and Scottie came at the end of that season. And so we did a couple of media days and whatnot, a couple of light practices. We in the steam room chilling. And in my head, I made it. It's me and the OG. Me and the OG. He coming back to Chi-Town. He still got some tread on his tires. Like, we're about to do some things. I'm averaging over 20 already. You know what I'm saying? I know he gonna play D, and I get a chance to ball with a legend. Like, I get to ball with a legend, dog. And so that's what I'm saying to him. And you know I don't curse, but I think I need to say what he said for effect.
Sure.
So I'm talking about Eddie got good feet. He can score on the post. Tyson can block shots. He gonna grab boards. Man, he's like, and again, please excuse me. He was like, dog, I ain't doing shit for these MFs. They owe me. That's exactly what he said. And I was like, they do owe you. They do owe you, OG.
Yeah.
And you know what I had to do as a young professional, Jacoby? Because you just touched on it. I had to fall back and keep that confidential and respect where he was coming from and never judged him for it. Right before the pandemic hit, you know who I was on the plane with going from Golden State to LA? Scottie Pippen. And you know, we talked about ball, we talked about everything. Like, I love him, dog. I hate looking down at my phone and his name is trending for something he didn't do.
Tough.
His name is trending for something he didn't do, dog. And then the next day is like, oh, well, she was at the mall holding hands, but then the next day is like, oh, but she going back to him, going back to the house. That's what the headlines say. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's my man. And so I always feel like he never truly got the respect from the game or the bread. So I understand why during the Last Dance and you playing golf with Jason and he could feel slighted, I told you why it was happening. You would think that he would be able to do interviews and celebrate it. He and Horace Grant and talk about the journey. But there were things in the journey that got said while they're trying to live their lives right now as adults and parents and grandparents and professionals and all of that. We got dug back up with the story. Like, Grant got kids in the league, nephews in the league, dog. He got kids in the league, dog. You know what I'm saying? So imagine all of the dudes just rocking Jordans and loving MJ and celebrating the Last Dance, and then all of a sudden, the chapter with your dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, your dad did that? You know what I'm saying? Like, those dudes couldn't enjoy the celebration of the journey via the Last Dance because to them it was written and produced in Michael Jordan's eyes, not from the team lens.
Jalen, this has been an undercovered story. There's a couple players prominent players that are not practicing with the Golden State Warriors by the name of Draymond Green and James Wiseman. Now, when Steve Kerr was asked about it, he said, they're not here. You can draw your own conclusions. So I'm not reporting this. This isn't fact, but I'm going to draw my conclusions. They got COVID.
Well,
Steve Kerr basically said it without saying it.
Because they would be on the injury report otherwise. Like, you would know if there was something that took place where somebody got injured in practice.
I think it's interesting to me that this season is going to be played outside of the bubble with all the travel. And they don't have the 55-man roster, next man up thing that you can do in the NFL. And they don't have the once-a-week games where you can kind of shift it around and play, Cowboys-Ravens tonight on Tuesday. Like, they don't have that kind of leeway to do the sort of maneuvering that the NFL's been able to do. Do you think the NBA is doing the right thing by playing the season the way they're playing?
They're doing the right thing. Do the right thing. Ouch. I tried to hit my shoe with the bat and hit my ankle. Hold on.
Yo, do you just hit yourself? You hit yourself with a baseball bat during the podcast.
Yeah.
It lost your train of thought.
I was sitting here hitting myself in the bottom of my shoe for like 15 times, and then one time I missed it.
I know for a fact you have no idea what we were talking about before I asked that question.
No, because I hurt my ankle.
You have no idea. I know you so well. Do you have any idea what we were talking about?
I do. Let me take a deep breath. Don't tell me. I'm about to tell you what you were just talking about.
Oh, you don't know.
So
no, you don't know.
You were asking me about
you
said the prominent Golden State Warriors who missed practice. Yes, the NBA is doing the right thing. Let me tell you why.
Give the audience claps.
Let me tell you why. He didn't tell me. Let me tell you why. Here's the NFL math. 32 teams, times 16 games equals everybody gets their money on their contract. 72 NBA games times 30 teams means everybody get their NBA contract. It doesn't say if 5 of the guys had COVID. You know why? Because the game still went on. And the spirit of sports, usually, in particular in the NBA, when series determine who advance once the playoffs come, usually the best team wins. So you might have a couple of squads during the regular season that get a chance to really benefit from playing against teams that, you know, had a lot of COVID issues and players missing games or whatnot. But usually, as you know, one healthy cream rises to the top, and in the playoffs, the best squads win. And so it's important to get the games in and continue to try to follow, you know, safe protocol as much as possible while still trying to entertain your public and play the game you love.
Well, I wish them the best, and I hope they get through the COVID experience with the least amount of symptoms possible, because it seems like that's all over the place. There's some people that are affected for life. Some people barely even know they have it when they test positive. I can only speak for myself on this issue, but I want the vaccine as soon as possible. I'll take any vaccine. I'll take all the vaccines. Everyone's got their own way of approaching this. I'm pro-vaccine. I want that thing as soon as possible. What's the number I would pay for a vaccine right now? It's pretty high. It's pretty high. It's a pretty high number I would pay for a dose of the vaccine right now.
You know what they really, let me give you some game, dog. Here's what they should be doing to help out the people that have had deaths in their family, that have lost their jobs, that are losing their businesses, that are getting laid off and furloughed. And it hurts my heart even when we lose people that work for our company under scenarios like that. Let me tell you something, dog. Every person that takes the vaccine, you know what you can do to make sure it happens, so that we can actually test up to 70% of the people, because that's how you eliminate herd immunity. 70% of people have to get tested. You know how to make that happen? You pay everybody to take it. That's what you do. You pay everybody to take the test. So just the way you was giving us stimulus dollars, I don't know if that was $1,800 at the time, you say make it $2,500 for everybody to take the test.
You shouldn't pay me to take the test. I think you should be. It's just like some sort of if you're on government assistance, you should be paid for it. Or if you're receiving unemployment, you should be paid to take it.
You know what I mean? Not for the 1 or 2%. I mean for the audience that you just described, the people that would fall definitely in the line of stimulus, but more importantly, just adults who could use the aid. Give everybody $2,500. That makes 100,000 or less, 150 or less, whatever the number is. Only the smart people can determine that, but everybody should get paid to take it. It sounds kind of like what I was saying about the NCAA years ago. It's like, if you really want players to graduate, put a ticket at the end of it. I'll give you X amount each year, and then when you graduate, we'll give you 10,000. And by the way, you just help make the school, you know, tens of millions, by the way. When you graduate, we give you 10,000, give you 100,000, whatever. That'd be a nice little bump. And so that's what I think for people like you, Jacoby. It's gonna take. Oh no, you make over 150,000, so that ain't for you. I'm sorry, you rich, dog.
Why you in my pockets? You know what I mean.
I ain't in your pockets. I just know you work 5 days a week on television, dog. I just, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, not for people like you, but for people that fall in the categories I just described. Imagine if we paid everyone $2,500 to take it, you get 70% of people to take it, you eliminate herd immunity, and therefore the vaccine can now become a vaccination, and we can actually get towards some sense of normalcy and not wearing masks.
I think you want to achieve herd immunity, not eliminate it, but I feel what you're saying. We have another little NBA story. It's just a little detail, a little something. You remember Jimmy Butler started with the Heat, showed up at 4 a.m. for practice, and we kind of clowned him. At least I clowned him for it. You liked it. I thought it was a little too much.
I loved it. I didn't like it.
It was too intense.
I loved it.
And then where'd they end up? They ended up in the NBA Finals.
I
They ended up in
told
the
you.
NBA Finals.
I told you that's what you do. Eric Spoelstra to Mike Tomlin of the NBA and vice versa. One day I want to just look up and see them coaching the other one's teams.
Russell Westbrook showed up 2 hours early to Wizards practice to set a tone.
Of course he did.
How you feel about that?
Well, he got to get familiar to his new settings. Even on three teams in 3 years. So part of that is that's what he should do. The other thing is he played for Scott Brooks for multiple years. And so I think that's just a level of familiarity. And plus, he ain't got a crib there yet. He at the gym all the time anyway. He
He at the hotel. Yeah, it's like he showed up. I want to hear showed up 2 hours early and got 2,000 shots up. Not showed up 2 hours early, looked at Instagram, read the newspaper, took a steam in a hot tub. It's like you just showing up. I need to hear more than showing up 2 hours early. Because I can show up to something 2 hours early and just kick it. Have a hot hamburger and some French fries.
He's just like you. He done watched everything on Netflix. He done watched all of that.
Yeah, he's good.
He's just trying to get to the facility, dog.
Just set a tone. If I show somewhere 2 hours early, I'm gonna set a tone. The tone I'm gonna set is gonna be I'm chilling. That's the wrong tone. If I show up to something 2 hours early, I'm setting the wrong tone. They'll be like, all right, he already ordered 2 meals. He's been on his phone the entire time. He took a nap for 15 minutes. Like, what sort of tone is this dude trying to set? We always say we get to people that want part of that is listening to your voicemails. If you call 985-80-JALEN, you can listen to voicemails. We always love the voicemail part of the show. We want you to be involved in this program you're listening to right now. All you gotta do is call 985-80-JALEN. Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on the show just like this.
What's up, Reg? What's up, Jalen Jacoby? I got a question for you guys. Cultural, regional, or generational? Talking to someone while you're inside of the public restroom. I need answers. From Chicago, Illinois. Shout out to my wife, Princess.
Shout out to him and his wife, power couple, Chi-Town power couple. So
absolutely, Chi-Town.
I think he means talking to strangers. Because if me and you were in the restroom, that's where we met, strip club restroom. So if me and you were in a couple of urinals, we're going to keep our conversation going. But shout to strokers. I think he means talking to a stranger, right? Talking to a stranger. But I have another question. But let's just get to his first, because I've got a really important follow-up question off of this. So Jalen, talking to a stranger in a public restroom, cultural, regional, generational.
Well, I got a lot of thoughts about being in public restrooms. There's certain etiquette. I don't want to hear them.
No one wants to. No one wants to hear.
We're not getting all into that. First off, I think it's cultural. I believe that usually when we're in the bathroom as men, a lot of times I don't want to talk to anybody I didn't walk in there with, period.
Yeah, I understand.
I just don't want to, that's just not the environment I want to be socializing in. Because if you think about all of the actions that take place while people in the bathroom, I am not trying to be giving dabs. I'm not trying to be talking to you while you're trying to use the bathroom or vice versa. Just so many different visuals that I just don't want. I'm literally tunnel vision. I'm tunnel vision in and out of the bathroom.
So let me tell you something I like to
cultural.
do. Let me tell you something I like to do. I like to see one of my friend's sneakers underneath the stalls and then just start a conversation with them just to make it awkward.
Cultural.
Yeah, just to make it awkward. I like to see, if I see someone that wears sneakers under the stalls, I'm like, oh, what up, Jimmy? Oh, how's that going in there? You starting off or you finishing this up? What's going on? Where are we in the process? I just like to make people feel awkward that way.
All I know is this, Demetrius, our producer is laughing in our ear when you said that. Palms Restaurant, downtown LA.
Yes, I remember this.
I'm in the bathroom.
Other way around.
Tried to do that to me.
Other way around. No, other way around. You're misremembering. Sometimes you just make up memories. I was in the stall. We were about to go somewhere else after lunch, and I wanted, sometimes after I eat, I digest. and it in with the new, out with the old. So you walk in the bathroom after me, you see my shoes under the stall, but you were like jealous. You're like, good move. You're like, good move. Get it done. Get it done now. You're like, yeah. You're like jealous. You're like, yeah. Get it done before we go to our next location. You were like, good strategy, Jacoby. And it made me feel good about my poop. I'm like, yeah, man, that is a good strategy.
Here's the thing. I just felt like
but see how you remembered it the opposite? See how you remembered it the opposite?
Well, I felt like the restaurant at the Palm would be a lot more cleaner than the one at Sam's. So I wanted you to use the restroom there.
Whoa. Yo, we gotta stop the show. Jalen, we'll be back tomorrow. Why is that, Mr. Rose?
That's before we retired, man. We've been doing this show. You didn't even have kids then, dog. It's okay.
We'll be back tomorrow. Why is that, Mr. Rose?
We're not
we might
done.
be back.
At least I don't think we ain't. At least I don't think we are. We're not done. We're not done.